Yeah.
Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Backwoods Brothers. I'm with my man
Tony and no guest.
Oh yes, I know they're gone. The eagle can be our guest today.
I know.
Come
oh my
on.
goodness, we're gonna talk about tonight.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about
bottleneck at the border.
Bottleneck at the border.
Gosh, bottleneck at the border. What we're gonna talk about, brother?
Yeah, under that bottleneck at the border, it's gonna be talking about the immigration crisis at the border. We're gonna talk a little bit about Title 42, Title 8. We're gonna talk a little bit about how Texas brought it up to Biden up in Washington.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Biden's action plan and a little bit about the kind of the response to that and everything else from 26 different governors creating a border strike force.
So we invite you to get into this conversation with us. We're going to be careful today to make sure Middle America. Yesterday I posted on Backwoods Brothers. I posted to tune in for tonight's conversation of bottleneck at the border, and I asked people to give a thumbs up.
Bottleneck at the border?
Bottleneck at the border. So, yeah, they are here to participate with us. We want to hear from you. Brother, can I just tell you right now?
What you got?
30 to 60,000 people are waiting at the border for Title 49 to actually end.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. It's literally a big bottleneck of people waiting to cross, and the rule that stood in their way is soon to be lifted.
Title 42. Title 42 remains in place until May 23rd.
May 23rd.
Yep, and that's just like a couple days from now. Well, a month and
a month for now.
A month and a couple days from now. So that's what I meant.
A month for now. No, and actually, I just say, physicians of human rights actually spoke about this and said that Title 49 should have, or 49, Title 42 should have never been in place. Basically, they said that COVID restrictions should have never been in place because it denies people the help that they actually need.
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I think it was a good to put it in there because obviously if you're going to be locking down your country due to concerns of COVID and everything else, then it doesn't make sense to just let those people just flood on in. Even though the Biden administration may have that policy, common sense tells you that, hey, if you have to lock something down, you definitely don't lock your citizens down and say everybody else come in and just do what you want. You lock that down too, and they use that to repel them at the borders.
And actually, that's interesting you said that because that's my whole issue with this is that we were on lockdown.
Yep.
We were locked down in our homes. We were locked down on our jobs. We couldn't come in. There were essential workers. We were wearing masks. We were taking all the CDC precautions. And this is a CDC bill, actually, or CDC title through the administration.
Exactly.
Trump first.
Exactly.
Right? It started. But some people don't even know what Title 42 may be.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us what Title 42 is?
So I did a lot of research, and guys, do your own research. We always encourage you to do this. But Title 42 of the U.S. Code grants the government the power to prohibit in whole or in part the introduction of persons and property, or I should say, introduction of persons and property to stop a contagious disease from spreading to the U.S. As a matter of fact, the Biden administration faces pressure from both Democrats and, by the way, bipartisan Democrats and Republicans over this decision to actually end Title 42, which actually came into play through Trump. But the power to shut down the border was in place since the early 1977. I forgot what it was.
Yeah. If you talk about Title 8, that goes back way further.
Title 8.
But
goes back way.
Yeah,
but
Title 42 has been around for a while.
For pandemics or
because the Title 42 is not specifically like for immigration.
Yeah,
it grants the government the ability for like health crises, among many other things, to shut things down. It's for the Title 42 is not an immigration authority, but rather a public health authority used by the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention to protect against the spread of communicable disease.
Yeah.
So
it was in place for a reason. Actually, there was some pushback when Trump introduced this title. I think it was Steve? What was his name? Who was with him? What was his press secretary way back in? Okay, I can't remember. But it was Trump who implemented it got some pushback, said it was unlawful to actually impose Title 42, and then it ended up passing after a lot of pushback from his administration, and it was carried over into the Biden administration.
Yeah, and so the Biden administration wants to end it. Of course, that's going to basically open the floodgates and let things come flooding into the country. Everybody waiting there because currently, right now, we already have a pretty big flow into the country.
That's really interesting you say
Yeah,
that.
I actually went and got the stats as of today.
Well, before you read those,
Yeah,
it's interesting that now the Biden administration is kind of coming to the knowledge that we've all had that there's actually a border crisis, humanitarian crisis. They're already coming to that like epiphany.
Well, it's just because they're coming to something else right around the corner.
You know what election. That is? Midterms? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the elections are coming up. So suddenly, all the things that they've been trying to push for the extreme far left and the craziness, they're going to have to start appealing to the common sense people, and so they're going to come around and try to look pretty for the show, and then afterward go back into the crazy.
Well, it's funny how Biden at his State of the Union address kind of backpedaled on some of the things that actually Trump implemented and said, "I am not for." Oh no, I wasn't for what he did, but now I'm for what he did. But I always have been for what he did. Don't you know that?
Yeah. Here's the thing: is that first of all, it wasn't the state of
no, it was the state of Russia.
I said state of Russia.
Oh, state of Russia. Oh,
you're going to get that address right, so that way people can connect back to it. It was the state of Russia.
You know? They said stay in a lane that you maybe know about.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. You think he spent so much time in doing those shady deals over there with the Ukraine and Russia, he probably knows quite a bit about it. You know.
Oh gosh. Well, you had some stats.
Yeah. So I went and looked up, and it's kind of here on the screen, and I put the link so you can go see it yourself. It's in the description here, but you can actually see it's a little bit smaller for me to see it, but it looks like in January we had about 150,000 people came in for 2022 versus last year, which was about 78. And these are contacts, is what it says. It's a contact, and this is on the southern border only, by the way. And down below that, you'll see in 2020 it was something like 36. So it's almost it was 36. It's almost doubled every month, every year for the last 2 years. Also, on top of that, in February we had a high number. It was 165. But the last month, like 2 months ago in March, is what they have here because they don't have April up yet, and that was 221. And then I believe last month, from the numbers we get from other locations, it was 280,000, I believe. So it's progressively growing in the amount that are coming in. So over the last 6 months, there's been over 1 million contacts, and you can kind of look down below at the very bottom of that picture there, and you can see. Actually, I like how this splits us up. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, you can see it's a single adults is the highest number.
The blue.
And actually looking for the kind of yellow, bottom left yellow there, that is 2022. The blue is 2021 and the red is 2020. So you can see it went from being pretty high adults. 2021 had more single adults, and now it's less this year. And that has to do with a little bit something that Brandy's been talking about on her show as well, which also don't forget, this right here is we're only partway through the year, and that's for an entire year. So you see the single adults is actually catching up.
Yeah.
But they do try to use kids now coming through and things, and for the human trafficking piece, and so that kind of might skew some of those numbers as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Surely it's a crisis. Under the Title 42, the White House also officially told Fox News that a, quote, significant percentage of migrants have re-attempted to enter into the United States illegally following their rapid expulsions, which is under Title 42, because they were not placed in immigration proceedings, not processed through the system, which is broken, and ultimately faced no consequences for attempting to re-enter into the country. So we already know their processing is they're backlogged. There is a crisis.
Yes,
there's a crisis.
There is a crisis, and I love one of the statements that was made by it was DHS, and it says, this was a statement on their website. It says, once the Title 42 order is no longer in place, DHS will process individuals encountered at the border pursuant to Title 8, which is a standard procedure we use to place individuals in removal proceedings. Nonetheless, we know that smugglers will spread misinformation to take advantage of vulnerable migrants. Let me be clear, those unable to establish a legal basis to remain in the United States will be removed. It's funny they say that, but they haven't shown that over the last 2 years.
Look, isn't DHS the Department of Health and Human Services?
Department of Homeland Security.
Or Homeland Oh, DHS, Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
I'm used to working for the other DHS.
Yeah,
I'm like, they're working already. They're already overworked.
Well,
with a lot of cases.
DHS is always a question about the need of DHS versus
As well.
everything else we already have.
Right. Department of Department of Human Services. So that's what they say.
Well, Department of Homeland Security, that was formed after 9/11. So
yeah.
But they do talk about Title 8. But before we jump into that one, do you have anything?
Especially to go with what you just said.
Yes.
Second, actually, that's funny you say that. Okay, Department of Health and Human Services statements say this. We have put in place. Oh, you already said the comprehensive bill, but it goes on to say this. It says right in the middle, we are increasing our capacity to process new arrivals, evaluate asylum requests, and quickly remove those who do not qualify for protections. We will increase personnel and resources as needed and have already redeployed more than 600 law enforcement officers to the border. They're referring to smugglers in certain borders as well, crossings for criminal prosecution. So it says over the next 2 months, we are putting in place additional appropriate COVID-19 protocols, including ramping up our vaccination programs. So that was the continuation of what kind of you read.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the big things there is the smugglers they mentioned is, I think there's a lot of focus on that smuggler piece because that's one of the biggest crossing pieces is smugglers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd say that's actually one of the bigger concerns is the smugglers.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys think about Title 42 and its abolishment on May 23rd?
Well, some people have already said, first of all, they like the topic. Good topics these days, gents, as someone said.
Yeah. I just had to learn what DHS is, guys. There you go.
Biden is already in Portland, someone said. Thanks for sharing.
Huh. I heard he was coming to Portland.
Yeah, he's supposed to be talking tomorrow. So
okay. Well, I hope he talks on this border crisis.
I don't think he's going to leave the airport. Someone said.
Well, has he visited the border yet? Because we know Kamala Harris hasn't.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about how the borders visited him, though.
Got you.
Yep. The northern border has some interesting apprehensions in Blaine sector, in Washington, in Houston sector, and Maine in the past week. Ecuadorians, H-2A overstays, and Mexicans don't see too much coverage on the northern border. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so it used to be where you can kind of count on the Canadian government to kind of take care of their own issues up there, but these days I don't know anymore.
Actually, I just learned as I was studying Title 42, it actually does affect the northern border as well.
Yeah, and that same link I put in there with the stats, you can actually look up the northern border as well.
Really?
Yeah, you just switch up, and it's the border controls stats. Someone else says, and it's going to keep growing.
Absolutely.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead. You read the rest.
This is all deja vu from the Obama administration. I wonder why.
Yes. Until someone better
Shocking.
becomes president. Our country is in more crisis than any other country. Actually, you're correct on that. Go ahead. Keep going, brother, on that one.
Until someone better becomes president, our country is more in crisis than any other countries. But potato
Dementia Biden.
The potato dementia Biden focused on Ukraine and Russia by sending money we don't have.
Oh.
We need our border patrols back. Yes, we do.
Speaking of that, the borders are actually seeing some Ukrainians possibly even come through our southern border.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, and that's another concern for health.
Yeah, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of those coming in as well throughout the next, 6 months and things as the war presses on over there. People can try to be escaping, and Ukrainian was pretty much almost a first world country,
Hmm.
and so there's not a whole lot of options for them to go to, like maybe like England or those type of places. They're first world countries,
Hmm.
but America is the most well known first world country, especially when they're saying, "Hey, come on in," we don't,
Yes.
borders open.
The door's open.
Yeah.
The door's open. There's looks like more participation here.
Yeah, someone said, yeah, send National Guard to the border, and then neither of them ever step foot at the border. Yep.
Nope.
So,
actually, they haven't.
yeah, and definitely. I mean, it's with the.
Well, see, because Kamala's still talking about, Ukraine is a very small country, and Russia is a very big country. And the big country's trying to take over the small country. And that's why we have a war.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big. She's
Thanks.
a dummy. Thanks, Kamala, for your 2-year-old antics, because that's what you think of the American people, like we're a bunch of idiots.
Well, if you can pay child actors to come see you, that's
But
desperate.
You know why? You know why I think Biden and Kamala have not visited the border?
Why?
It's because they know that all those people down there are holding these gigantic signs that basically say, fuck Biden, or FJB, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
or let's go Brandon,
Uh-huh.
things like that. But there's a really good place if you ever want to get one of those signs. You can get one of those signs right in our own town here from a great sponsor.
Huh.
Yes, we can get those. You can get those signs made up any way you like, and they'll custom print them. They'll make all sorts of sizes. Make banners. They'll even make stickers you can slap on your friends' trucks and things that say "I love Biden," and then they can knock you out.
Real fast, before we go into that, stay tuned. We're going to come back and talk about Title VIII.
Exactly. Thanks, guys, and take a look at the sponsor. Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back, and hope you got a chance to take a look.
Bottleneck at the border.
Yeah, definitely. Give those guys a call. But yeah, so Title VIII, man. Oh, let's talk about Title VIII. That was what it actually controls and makes our laws on the border. So basically, Title VIII talks about aliens and nationality, and we ain't talking about aliens from outer space. We're not talking about what's that one in the desert? Area 51 or anything
Area
like
51.
that. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm sure some people read that and go, "Oh, look, see, aliens are recognized by the government." No. So anyways, so you okay over there?
Yes.
Okay, so the thing about Title VIII, let's just give a quick history. It started back in 1952 when it was first formed. It was titled Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. They redid it again in 65, and then they did it again in 86, calling it the Immigration Reform and Control Act. Then in 1990, they took it to the Immigration Act of 1990, and finally, in 1986, that was the last revision, where it says Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act. But they did more than just change the titles. Some of the things they talked about in the code is it's a body of federal law dealing with the immigration and nationality. So Title VIII compromises relevant statutes adopted by the United States and major federal acts that are being incorporated either in part or whole into Title VIII are noted. And I'll basically talk about those in a second here. So I'm kind of reading some information because there's so much in this title.
Yes.
It's like 542.
Yes.
That I can't even summarize it into a single show. So
you're talking about Title VIII?
Title VIII, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much in Title VIII. I couldn't find a lot with Title VIII, but Title 42, I saw a lot of. Maybe you guys can do research too, but
and be careful. A lot of things talking out there when I was looking for 42, I'm sure you found the same thing.
Yeah.
They were there was a lot of it was people's opinions. It wasn't actual facts.
Nope.
It was skewed information like, oh, this was used by the Trump administration to get to push through their agenda and things like that. They were talking about it.
Yes.
So
demonizing it.
Exactly.
Demonizing the title when it was actually a health implant or a public health implant to secure.
Well, that's exactly what it was there for in the first place. Yes.
Yeah.
But when you look up these things, make sure you're looking at the source that it's coming from, so you understand that it's not, if it's going to be a skewed source or an actual source.
Yeah.
And try to get something that's an actual source when you're looking up laws and not a skewed interpretation. So, illegal immigration. Go ahead. You look like you're going to say something.
No.
All right. Illegal immigration reform and
Hey, I had to do that.
Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. Short order is the illegal immigration, and basically this act was passed by Congress in 96 and signed into law by Clinton and September 30th. But the main thing you're looking for here is law enforcement authorized greater resources for border enforcement, such as the construction of new fencing. So, kind of like the build a wall thing, but instead of this case, it was fencing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the big deal about a wall is because they did it back in 96.
Yep.
They enacted specific that one specific
yes.
Civil penalties for attempting to cross the border illegally.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important was it amended regulations regarding the removal of individuals residing in the country without legal permission by prohibiting legal re-entry for a certain period of time and introducing a process for expedited removal.
Yep. Expulsion.
Yes. So basically, if you're in the country illegally, you get booted out. And by the way, this was signed into law by Bill Clinton. So that would be a Democrat.
A Democratic president.
So yeah, let's go back and take a look at that one.
Yeah.
If you guys have concerns about that.
Mm-hmm.
The law also applied to new restrictions to the asylum application process, which they could go way deep into that.
The asylum application process is quite lengthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite
it's pretty lengthy and stuff, and it made it even more new restrictions to it. So it made it probably even harder to do, I would assume. So,
but see, that's what they're equating the bottleneck to, is the process.
Yeah, again, and who was that enacted by?
Clinton.
I
think he's a Republican.
He's a what?
Oh, he's a Democrat.
He's definitely a Democrat.
That's right. How quickly we forget.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Clinton.
Thank you. Yeah. So Title VIII has always been in place. I often wondered, how did Title 42 coincide with Title VIII?
Well, basically, Title 42 was basically just gave the CDC the ability and the power in order to repel them at the borders based upon a specific set of health guidelines.
Okay.
But that's they're not really like, because it's not an immigration law. 42 is not. It's a health code law.
It's a health code.
And so it technically, I think if you looked at it, anything, it added an extension, a temporary extension to Title VIII.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's great. It added an extension. And I wonder, how many pandemics have you lived through? There was definitely a need to enact Title 42.
Yeah, I think it was a good precaution. And like I said, if you're going to lock down your citizens, you damn well better lock down your border.
Well, some Republicans,
otherwise you're just a jackass.
Yeah. Well, some Republicans are really trying to keep Title 42.
It has. Well, I think the big problem is that the minute that goes away, it's a massive surge. And the thing is, Title 42 is a temporary stopgap right now to stop these unprotected border from just being opened even more. Basically, it narrowed the floodgates slightly, but as soon as you take Title 42 away, that 40% that's been turned away because of it is now suddenly going to be coming in. That's 40% increase over what we're already getting. And we're already at record numbers.
Yeah. You pinpointed it. Senate Republicans, meanwhile, are trying to keep Title 42 from lifting in the first place, using the COVID-19 funding bill as a vehicle.
Well, here's the problem is they don't need Title 42 to extend. What they need to do is they need to write a temporary stopgap bill, which basically allows that when Title 42 ends on May 23rd, a new title comes out, basically whether it's a temporary piece or an extension onto Title 8, that allows them to, during the time of a border crisis or something, to reduce or enact the same restrictions.
You talking about border health crisis?
Not just the border health crisis. I said 42.
Well, this is 42.
Yeah, 42. I'm talking about Title 8 though.
Oh, okay.
So they Title 42 should be repealed on the 20th because that's the health crisis is over. The house crisis is over.
Now you're reaching. Now you're reaching a little bit into what we talked about earlier today. Is the health crisis over?
I mean, all the things and restrictions are coming off in the country.
Right.
So yeah,
I hope, because some still are wearing masks.
That's their own choice. If they want to wear a mask, they can be. Some people dress up in costumes, and guys wear dresses. You know, I mean, what do you expect?
I hear about that, but some airplanes by air.
That was great, man.
I missed it. I heard what you said there.
Yeah.
But I mean, but I mean, the CDC still. Or people are still holding the CDC guidelines at hospitals, which I can see hospitals and clinics.
I mean, even then, I think they're a little overzealous in a hospital, to be honest. So,
well, I didn't want to get you off task though.
Yeah. So let's roll back around into the title.
So is the pandemic over?
I think it is. I think the pandemic's over. I mean, it's an epidemic now versus a pandemic. And that's a big thing to recognize. But when it comes down to 42, I think to talk about the actual crisis at the border, Title 8, this needs an extension to the title or an amendment to it that allows them to, during a time of a border crisis and overextension of illegal crossings and contacts, where they can extend those rules that they have, the same type of rules that they have, what limit them and maybe rewrite them a little bit, such as it was removed already, but they used to have like a quota thing. I think they was found to probably be unconstitutional or something. I didn't get to see why, but they used to have quotas where you can only have so many people come into the country at one time.
Yeah.
But that was repealed a long time ago.
Gotcha.
But to have something in place, a rule or something that restricts or reduces the flow that they can rely on under Title 8, that even if they want to put for a temporary stopgap, but don't extend 42 that's based on public health, because that's no longer applies. If we want the left to follow the laws, and I see them when we get to the questions in just a minute here. If you want the left to follow the laws and to be held to accountable there, we have to do the same thing. We can't go, hey, we want to hold 42 and keep this thing. We can't basically you can't have our cake and eat it too.
We're running over our messaging.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely.
Someone says there is a difference between refugees from. Oh, thank you. There's a difference between refugees and from war and people wanting to move in illegally for economic benefits. Exactly. So they want to come in, get the benefits, and let us pay for it.
I'm glad they made that distinction.
Exactly, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
8 USC 1251 is a deportation proceedings in the 1990s, and is now 8 USC 1229. A called removal proceedings in 2000. Infrastructure means multiple so I'm not sure exactly what that was meant to say there, but that's I guess what they're calling it now.
I can help you.
By the way, welcome, Brandy. She has the ability to talk to us.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Brandy. Hey, our producer, help us.
I believe what he's saying is back in the 1990s, they were called deportation proceedings, and now that it's changed in the 2000s, they're calling it removal proceedings.
Removal proceedings.
Yeah, okay. you might want to turn yourself up. I could barely hear you. So, anyways, and that's on section 4. That's on 4.
And then the next viewer says infrastructure means multiple fences, primarily in secondary, especially in San Diego. What's that word there?
Infra. I think it's trying to say infrared scopes.
Oh, scopes and seismic
intrusion
devices.
Yeah. So basically, looking for people that try to dig.
And
then people are trying to sneak over with, like, you can see, in the dark, heat signatures.
Okay.
You ever use a infrared scope?
Wow.
You ever use one? You ever use an infrared scope?
I've never used an infrared
I'll have to get you one. With a call up our friends that do have things like that, and it's pretty cool.
Really? Yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I got to play with a bunch of those in the military.
Did you?
Especially the big ones that you can like zoom in like half a mile and stuff. It's pretty cool.
So they're infrared scopes and seismic intrusion devices.
Yep. Someone said when I was arrested in 2018, I could have been deported, but since my situation, I would have to do something more severe and insane to get deported. Since my situation was minor.
Hmm.
So There sounds like there's limitations. Like, yeah, I'm in by no means an immigration law lawyer, and I would never want to be that.
I would never want to
Just
be.
looking through a little bit of the code the last couple days,
Yes.
trying to get to know it. Oh man, my head hurts.
Yes. Yes. Oh yes.
But yeah, so but that's Title 8. Oh, thank you. Yes. I should join the Hurt
So-
Feelings Brigade.
That's a little bit of Title 8. Love your comments. What do you guys, if there's anybody out there that has a little bit further knowledge of what Joel was talking about, definitely, while we're on this section, comment. We want to definitely hear from you. There's a lot more, and we're going to go into a lot more.
Yep.
Of how border states or governors are actually responding to this looming crisis, even more so.
Exactly.
I know that's coming up soon.
Exactly.
But it's good to have this understanding, or basic understanding of what's about to happen.
Exactly, and most people don't really know kind of what Title 42 means. You just know that there's some representatives against, like on our party, against getting it removed. And I understand the reason why. I just think it's not the right way to hold it, because, like I said, they're not eating their own dog food at that point.
Well, if you look at Biden's, and we're going to get there, but if you look at Biden's strategy for covering this crisis after 42 is demolished, is gone, you would probably wonder if this is just a backlash of fear that says, don't end something that's working, or that may be working.
Yeah, well, it's not even working, but yeah. I mean,
it gives the appearance that you're removing something, but you better have a plan.
You're making mention that Biden has a plan, and I don't think he actually has a plan.
Well, I'm speaking in hope.
Yeah.
He's all we got.
Exactly.
He was all we
Biden's
got
a quicker
right now.
fucker upper right
So
there.
I'm speaking in hope.
But,
you know, go ahead.
In order for Biden to have a plan, wouldn't he have to actually visit the border?
You would think so.
But he hasn't visited the border, and that's not something I've seen. I mean, unless he snuck down there in the middle of the night or something on a, one of the stealth jets or something.
He goes to sleep at 6.
Sorry, he's sundown at 6.
He's sundown at 6. I don't think so.
Well, see, but I know Kamala hasn't been there. So didn't somebody do something to kind of help him with that though? Since they couldn't make it down there. What was the response for that one, Tony?
What?
What was the response since they couldn't get down to the border? He's so busy up there.
They were so busy up there. What was their response?
What was someone's response?
Kamala's playing with her electric cars.
Yeah, but someone did something to help them since they couldn't make it down to the border. They brought the border to them, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, we're. Well, I was just reading the last comment that says Joe doesn't have a strategy, but
he doesn't have a strategy.
That is very true. But yes, people really, really got upset. Governors really got upset, so they brought the border to him. And actually, that's the next thing we're talking about here. Actually, it's interesting because Abbott is something else. They a lot of people in Washington D.C. Said that this was a stunt that he was pulling by busing migrants up to Washington, D.C.
Damn well bet it was.
Yeah.
It got his attention. It got the attention though, didn't it?
Well, yes, it damn did. Because look, it says Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced Tuesday on Fox News that the 8th bus, by the way, the 8th bus full of migrants is now en route to Washington, D.C. Now, the man said it was going to happen, and it happened.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That guy, he said, hey, you know what? If you're not going to handle it, then we'll just start sending all these ones up to you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact,
let them deal with it.
Yeah, well, this is what he said in quotes. He says, because Biden and the White House has refused to secure the border, Abbott said he is, quote, bringing the border to Biden.
Exactly. And exactly what he did. I mean, 8 buses is not a ton compared to the amount coming in. But you know what? I'm hoping he's finding the ones that they're letting back in that are criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And smugglers and have issues like that, and sending all those guys right up to Washington where they belong, along with the rest of the criminals. Did I say more?
Did you say more?
Hey,
no.
Hey, there you go, Kamala. Now you got the border. You went to the border, or it came to you.
The border came to you. And she's looking out the window. She does that great too. It says Texas Governor Abbott was pressed on another report that he may also direct buses another 200 miles further northeast to, get this, Biden's home state of Delaware, in hopes of getting the president's attention. So if he can't come to the White House, he's gonna bring him to his house.
Oh, exactly.
So
Right there in his own hometown, drop him in there.
yep. So he is really, and a lot of governors are getting the federal government. You're letting us down. What am I gonna do? What am my people?
I'm gonna put this right in your face.
I'm gonna put it right in your face.
Exactly. You know what you should do? You should drop them off right there at the Capitol and the White House.
Yeah.
With passes to get into there. Let's let them start wandering through the halls of Congress.
So the interesting part is, even closer to home, I lived in Washington, D.C., and you can have tours of the downstairs of the White House. Just let them all come downstairs.
Oh, I think that's great. But schedule them all.
West Wing, East Wing, go.
Before they leave, get them all scheduled for tours.
Get all scheduled for tours.
So they get as close as they can to it.
But no, Biden would be in his bunker, so he won't have to worry about it. It's interesting how the Dems want to. They're so outspoken about helping the less fortunate, but when they're at their doorstep, no, don't bring them in here. Don't bring them in here.
Exactly. They're some of the biggest hypocrites on the market, and they like to call Republicans hypocrites. And there's times when the Republicans have fallen into that case. Many times they've done that. I mean, that's politicians that do that. But there's a lot of cases. I mean, if you know your history, and that's why Democrats hate history so much being taught, is because you can see that most of the bad decisions that have been made over the course of our country's history have come from that side.
Yes.
So a good example. Who signed the change to Title VIII that made it harder for people to come into the country and everything else? That was a Democrat, right? There you go.
Yeah. A little bit more information. Some Texas leaders have also said that local services available to migrants will be overwhelmed when Title 42 ends. And San Antonio officials also say this situation has also already caused alarm. Biden's administration has abandoned the responsibility of national security.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's abandoned not just the ability of national security, he's abandoned all security. I mean, it's like we don't got fiscal security, we don't got border security, we don't got general overseas and national security. We don't got even the security to know that we're going to have food on our table and a job on the market because he can't handle anything.
Yes.
And I know it's not just Biden. No. It's his entire administration that's failing.
Administration.
Because the government's not run by one person. It's run by an administration that's under his leadership, yes. But his administration, it's not just one person. That's important to understand, yeah. If I only had the thing about Robert, what's it called? Yes, but here's the thing is, Biden is a figurehead, but people need to not miss one of the most important pieces here, that it's the entire leadership that he has chosen, which is that Democratic Party. You guys want to know what the country looks like when the Democratic Party has full control for 2 years. Look over the last 2 years. That is what you will look at going forward if there's not a change.
And I don't want to be hard on Biden, but the fish rots from the head, and you'll hear me say that often. I'm a business owner, and I don't get to blame my employees that I hired because the business is not doing well.
Turn around. Look, the way it works though is yes, that's a good point, but I want to also make a point too that
I understand that.
Yeah, a lot of the laws are made by people that sit in Congress, through the Senate and the House, right? And so they have the ability to actually override the president.
Yes.
And if they can even overturn an executive order.
Yes.
So they're as much to be held accountable.
Very true.
To this as the president and his cabinet as well.
True.
So again, remember that we're having a vote coming up, an election coming up right around the corner, and it's a chance to change that.
Is it this year?
Yep, it's this year in November.
Damn.
And people are already getting their ballots. People are already getting their ballots for the preliminary.
Yeah.
For the preliminaries. So.
Yeah. Looks like some audience members are commenting on some stuff
I'm
here.
Working on grabbing that right now. I just too many buttons.
Yeah, no, you're good. DHS secretary has visited the border, but agents were unhappy with his visits.
It wouldn't surprise me. And mine haven't loaded yet, so keep going.
They said they wanted to block asylum seekers from crossing the borders, but all of these illegal migrants are getting shoved in by dropping them wherever states will accept them. Sanctuary cities. our country is so broke that we can't support any illegal migrants and our citizens, and
Oh,
that is
well,
the
we're only
concern.
like what 30 trillion in debt, something like that.
That is the concern. I equate it to this. I'm getting ready for a dinner, and I know I don't have food for everybody, but I open up my door and say, "Come in, everybody, just come in." I hope I have food. Now I know Jesus can change like 2 loaves and 5 fish and multiply, but I'm not Jesus.
And neither are they.
But no, yeah. So it just doesn't make sense there.
The Democrats have a lot of experience in displacing people. Just ask my ancestors. Okay, thanks. So,
well, speaking of inviting people over for dinner, Brother Joel, if I were to invite people over for dinner, it definitely would be pizza.
Oh, I love
and
pizza.
it would be pizza from Hitching Post Pizza in Estacada, Oregon. Here, it is the best pizza around, and the best lady that led this company for I think over
about 20 years.
About 20 years. 18. So her pizza
18 years.
18 years. 18 years. So this pizza is the best in the West, and I invite you to check out this.
Well, hey, welcome back. We're just not distracted by playthings.
Our producer said we're doing a good job, and I'm like, oh! And I soaked that in for a little bit.
Yes.
And Joel soaked it in too. Hey, guys, real fast, I'm going to take an opportunity to thank our sponsors for just believing in Backwoods Brothers. We thank our viewers who are all across the country. You guys, I see our Facebook page, and you guys are just really active on there.
Oh,
Some
yes.
hearty debates too, brother.
Oh, there's been some pretty good ones on there. I mean,
wow.
if you haven't got a chance to actually get on and get involved in those debates, get on there and say something. And we get people from all sides coming in and saying things.
Yes.
And then when we post it, we spread those things out into other groups, trying to get them to come in and talk about the subject, because we want to see the different pieces of what people think.
Well, I see all across. I see people from Florida, see people from North Carolina, South Carolina, Maine. Everybody's in on this.
Yeah, really that's actually a big thing too. Is we want to know where you're actually listening from.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance, if you come onto our page, whether you come on, even if you're watching this at a later time, drop us a quick comment. Just let us know where you're from. If you're coming from local, if you're from Florida, you're from Alaska. I mean, and this includes those that are actually listening through the podcast as well.
Absolutely.
Because we see you downloading through different parts of the country as well.
Yes.
And so go on and just let us know where you're from. But we'd like to see where you guys are all at and where you all coming from. And maybe if you want, you can even send us a little voice message with your saying a greeting or something.
Well, brother, I was looking at a lot of the people who were interacting, and a lot of the guys at least have beards on there, and I'm like, dude, if I get in a competition with you guys, I lose hands down. After I learn what DHS is. We are talking about bottleneck at the border.
Yeah, we
issues.
Are. And so far we talked a little bit about Title 42. We talked about Title 8. We've talked about how the border was brought to Biden because he wouldn't go to the border. Yeah, exactly.
There's still some stuff on that.
And coming up, after we get done with that section, we're going to be talking a little bit about Biden's action plan or lack of action plan. And then we're going to talk about what some governors are doing to fix that.
What I don't like about the Biden action plan is they put Biden and action together.
Yeah, it's a Biden.
They're not synonymous. Okay?
Yeah, it should be.
They're not synonymous.
They actually, I think it was a misspelling. It should be Biden in action plan.
Well, I like that, or Biden auction plan.
Auction.
Selling off to another country?
Selling off the country to the highest bidder. Action him off?
Action him off?
No one wants them. No one wants them. No one wants them.
Oh my goodness. Well, just a little bit more of this because I have a ton of stuff, and feel free to keep commenting. It says these migrants are being dropped off, and as we said, in Washington, D.C., and as opposed to them being in small communities. I think I already read that they are dropping them off in Washington, D.C. The city is seeing unsustainable increase in migrants, according to the San Antonio mayor, Ron. The rising numbers, he said, prompted a letter to the U.S. Department of, again, Homeland Security.
Are you sure it's not Department of Health and Human Services?
Well, that'll come to that soon. Is it the Department of Health and Human Services? Oh, that's where I work.
Actually, with it,
Maybe not.
DHS.
Okay.
DHHS.
Yeah. And this actually, the governor also provided CNN with a copy of this letter too, dated March 31st, that states from March 19th to the 29th, and an average of 628 people stayed in shelters, sleeping in airports and city parks.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't already have a homeless crisis that's bad enough, that's just going to exasperate it 1,000 times over.
And this is the real deal. If you want to know how it affects you, that's how it affects you.
Exactly. I mean, this affects everybody, because when you have illegal immigrants come in, there's a whole lot of things to consider. One, especially when they're coming from over 100 countries, and a handful of those countries are known to harbor terrorists, and they're just letting them in the border. So after 9/11, we were scared of having another 9/11. We went to battle for it. We fought in countries over it. We chased down Taliban. I fought in Afghanistan for it, because we didn't want another 9/11. We wanted to keep the fight over there. Now we've turned over Afghanistan to the Taliban, who has now embraced again terrorism and has basically built a solid network of terrorists in there now.
Yep.
And to take that a step further, we've opened our borders to allow pretty much anybody who wants to come in to come in. And how much we have a free running Taliban and a open borders. What do you think is going to happen? This affects you.
Yeah.
This affects you, because if you live in big cities or even small cities, if you go travel to these public places and things, there's always your risk just quadrupled for you and your family.
When my building that I'm in, a certain room can house safely a certain amount of people, or it's a fire hazard.
Mm-hmm.
If we have cities that are overrun, we already have cities that are overrun with homelessness.
Yep.
And if we don't have the supply and demand, we don't have the supply to the demand, what happens?
Oh, exactly. When you don't have the supply and demand, everything goes up. So if we are already having shortages on food, housing, clothing, gas, everything else is causing our prices to skyrocket, then when you add more users, those prices continuously go up. And they will continue to go up until you reduce the demand and increase the supply. And the only way to do that is to stop the flood of the border and allow the supply to catch up.
Yes.
Or the demand to be reduced.
Yes, and I know it's nuanced. I know that. It's not... if it were that simple, we would have had it covered, but...
I would say that this crisis at the border affects everyone in this country as much, and if not more, as COVID did.
Absolutely. Because we're dealing with a humanitarian crisis.
Exactly.
Not a health crisis. Well, it could be actually a public health crisis.
Oh, very much. I mean, have you looked at Portland? It's a public health crisis.
That's what I'm thinking. When I think about the homeless problem and the issues, I think of Portland. When you're walking down the street and you see feces and you see those types of things, it's a health crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis. And we're inviting as if we have that covered already?
Yeah, it increases drug uses, sex trafficking, crime, and etc. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's been said, get your house in order, but yet it's been branded as being insensitive, as being supremacist activity. It's been bigoted. No, it's called get your house in order.
Yeah, we have a saying here on Backwoods Brothers when it comes down to sensitive or feelings, right?
Oh.
Yeah, what's that saying there, brother?
The feelings brigade?
No, we have a saying specifically.
Oh, here it goes, guys. Fuck your feelings, learn the facts.
Exactly.
That was the right one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Spot on.
1 point.
And that's the thing is fuck your feelings, learn the facts. And the main thing behind that is that you can't be subjective in all this. You have to be an objective view, because at some point logic has to be inserted into the equation, or you don't have an equation. You have a catastrophe. It's a non-functioning equation.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, when I think of a symbol of America, I do think of the Statue of Liberty and what it says: "Bring me your, bring me your, bring me your." But if we want to put a caveat on that, bring me but make sure what you have here is already able to sustain more.
Well, exactly. And people, we're not saying don't come. We're saying come, but follow the process.
Follow
the process is there because it also helps control the flow of immigration and immigration and immigration. There's like a letter difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, E means you're leaving the country, and the I means you're coming in, and it's followed different.
I learned something new.
Yeah,
So immigration is
in coming in.
Coming in.
Immigration is out.
Is out.
And,
you learned that here on Backwoods Brothers first.
Yes.
From this smarty over here.
Yeah. Oh, it's just like they have ingress and egress. It's the same idea.
Oh, okay.
But the immigration, when you can reduce the flow, and it may take time and cost money and stuff, because one, there are people that aren't going to go through that process that have ill intentions, and so that's going to keep them out.
Yeah.
And there are programs and things for people that need it, and there are asylum processes that take a while. Yeah, but because if you rush through something, you're likely to make a mistake where you're going to let somebody through, like a terrorist or someone who's a criminal, things like that. You got to make sure if we're bringing people into the country, we don't want to bring people into the country that can't support themselves.
Yes.
They can't take care of themselves, can't bring something in positive to the country, but simply want to come here and just be taken care of.
Look.
That's part of the process.
I had to bring that back. I grew up in the hood, and when I grew up in the hood, we had metal detectors everywhere you went. You didn't go to a place without metal detectors. So everybody went through that same process of going through metal detectors.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. Do that process. Do that process.
It's there for a reason.
It's there for a reason. There's some comments.
Yeah. And then let's talk about Biden's action plan or inaction plan.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. So, I think we got some of these, unless it's delayed. It is delayed.
I have absolutely. Someone says.
Yep. I got those.
It's increased drug issues, sex trafficking, and crime.
Yeah, it definitely does. When you have open borders, is exactly what it does.
Absolutely, absolutely. Biden has an action plan. Should we get to that?
Yeah, tell me about the action plan.
Okay, so guys, hold on to your hat here on this action plan. I'm not going to get to the strike force right there. Okay, so we already kind of went through Title 42 and what that means, Title 8 and what that means. Also, give me the other one. It's we all went through Biden's action plan, or I didn't get there yet. Sorry.
Yes, we're going through that now.
We're going through that now?
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Hey.
We went through it.
Stop. Oh, I see where you're going with that. I'm saying, stop showing Biden is rubbing off.
Moving on. We just, you thought I was doing that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was just setting it up that's his action plan. Now we're going to the next thing. No, actually, here's his action plan.
That would be better.
That would be better.
I love the producer's input. This is great.
Actually, this is kind of
random
fun.
Voice in our ear.
Yes, Backwoods Brothers, and that voice from the other side.
the voices from the other side.
Voices from the other side. Biden's action plan: working with nonprofits to supply nonprofits now. Okay, to supply or for supply, I should say. Working on new border facilities. And possibly in other cities, busing migrants, by the way, and flying them to different facilities, possibly around the country, and sending DHS, Department of Homeland Security, workers to help with processing.
That's killing us, isn't it?
I know. I didn't want to say DHS so bad, Department of Health and Human Services. How many of you guys get that mixed up too? But yeah, so let's just take this pit and parcel. Nonprofits. You run a nonprofit, or you guys run a nonprofit.
I do know nonprofit.
A nonprofit? Nonprofit?
Non-profit?
This is my concern.
Yes.
Nonprofits run not from government help.
Yep.
But from the help of the people.
Yep.
So, how does that happen if the surplus is if everybody's kind of skimming the surface of supply?
Well, yeah, that's the big thing too. Is when they're nonprofits. It's the hardest time right now is for nonprofits because, all these nonprofits are trying to survive to continue doing the services that they need.
Yeah.
Their supplies are not deep as it is because a lot of people are going for them. And then when you add a a bad fiscal management, such as the Biden administration has done, where people's pockets aren't deep in order to give because they're trying to survive themselves in this
Trying to buy
situation.
gas to get on the street.
Yeah, those nonprofits
Yeah.
get hit hard.
Yes.
And then when people are trying to rely on those nonprofits, and then there's no one to give to the nonprofits, then you have a catastrophe in that area. People are going to go without those services.
Yes.
So
So that's one of his action plans, and yeah. And then we go to working on new border facilities.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need new facilities. We don't. We need a wall. You want a new border facility? Finish a damn wall. And when we get the damn wall, then talk about a border
What
facility.
about fix the system?
All that too. I mean, the system is broken in many cases, and right now the system is broken because it just let people come in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fix the system.
Could
do the
could
vetting.
you imagine what we could do with 6 months of closed borders?
Huh.
I know that's not the case. We're not going to get that. Or how about 6 months of
heavily
heavily restricted borders?
Heavily restricted borders.
Yeah, with 6 months of heavily restricted borders would allow us to, one, finish our wall.
Yep.
Get ourselves caught up with all the craziness and to allow people to be sorted. Go through fix our laws and stuff in the process that goes through there, and then start processing those people through on a needed basis. But many of them should be turned away because they have either crossed illegally before and broke the law. And by the way, when you cross illegally, you are a criminal.
Yep.
Doesn't matter the reason behind it. You have broke the law. When you speed, you are a criminal technically because you broke the law.
Yes.
Are you a hardened criminal? Are you a bad criminal? Are you a bad person? No, you're still a criminal. But let's not tit for tat. That is you crossed illegally. You came into the country illegally. You have broke the law.
Okay.
You're a criminal.
So let's say this. Let's say this. I'm going to throw a metaphor at you. Okay. What if you run the red light because you're headed to the hospital for an emergency?
You still broke the law.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. You still broke the law.
But you see where that breaks down? I understand that refugees are coming. I understand that they're coming from some places that definitely they need to be rescued.
There's discretion on a law enforcement officer and things like that on how they apply the law.
Right.
And sometimes there's non-discretion. It depends on what it is. Like a judge has discretion to in sentencing and things like that, but it doesn't have discretion if someone has been proven and beyond a reasonable doubt to have murdered somebody. You can't go, oh, we're not going to charge him. Discretion only goes so far.
Yeah.
And so if someone is coming into the country illegally, if they have a family, yeah, I get to want to use some discretion on that. But at the same time, if they're crossing illegally and they don't have any of the paperwork and they can't support themselves or anything else like that, then they need to go to the country that they are a citizen of, or they need to go through the asylum process.
Yes. Which the asylum process does. It's not a secure all.
Yeah, exactly. And the asylum process does not mean just because you don't like where you're living, you can just come and file for asylum. Asylum is if, for example, if you're, let's just say you're in a country and the government is a dictatorial or authoritarian country, has a dictator there, and you spoke out against them to try to stop it, and now they're trying to kill you and your family, and you're running from them. That would be a good asylum case.
Yes.
Okay.
You heard that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Refugee status is different than asylum.
Yes.
Refugees means that you've been displaced from your country because of war. But if you come over as a refugee, it doesn't mean you should get to stay all the time. It means we keep you here. We help you out until your country has solved their issue or is no longer in war, and then you go back there. That's the big thing too. Is just because a lot of the cases are they may get granted temporary permission to be here, but they just don't ever leave.
That's it.
And I think there was I think that's what the Dreamers came out of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And here's the thing too about the Dreamers. If you're here and you are planning on staying, let's just say you come over and you get asylum or you get refugee status, something like that, or you get a temporary visa or something, and you want to stay, there's nothing wrong with that. Go through the process. Go through and get your green card. Go get your legal paperwork to become a U.S. citizen, and then become a U.S. citizen and stay.
I think we had a guest on. I love what you said, Joel. I think we had a guest on in the past that says, well, the asylum process is a little bit skewed in terms of people returning back to court to follow the proceedings through. People are not just coming back. They get
Exactly,
lost in the
and
system.
they need a better process to track them.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
it just pushing them out in there and say, "Come on back through." No, it should be, if you don't follow this process, you will be ejected back to your home country, and you'll never be allowed to come back to the United States. Period.
Yeah.
You follow the
Yeah.
process, or you lose it permanently,
Yes.
and we will stick you back in the country you're running from.
Right. Right.
I mean, make it harsh.
Mhm.
Make the punishment harsh so that they follow the rules.
Right. Right. But when you have more people coming, then you have people to enforce those rules.
Well, then you guess what? You repel them at the border.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry. There's a, it's like in a check stand.
Yeah.
You don't just push your way to the front and say, "Let me through."
Right.
I'm important. Let me through. No, you wait yourself in line
Uh-huh.
so that you can get through, and when you get up to the checker, you check out. It's the same idea. Wait in line.
I love it. I love it. So I already read through some of these, and there's some governors, and you're checking to see if we have some viewer participation.
Yeah, we got a bunch on here.
We do. Okay, I'm gonna let you get to that. But you know what? As a matter of fact, there's some pushback from governors striking back by force.
Yep.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Exactly. So, someone says the percentages of those illegals are terrorists that are using using children, supplying weapons and drugs. That is why we need to drain the swamps. Our country is a huge environmental and economic crisis.
Yeah.
Environmental and economical crisis. I say no more illegals. It took my family over a year and a half. They filed it in 1979. My family came to the United States in 1981.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a while.
Wow.
And the country has a huge economic crisis.
Yeah.
You could be back and forth on the environmental piece. I'd like to hear what the arguments are on that sometime.
Yeah.
But it says, "Yep, I remember the metal detector. Metal detector. I said mental.
Yeah,
The metal-
that's okay. There
metal
were mental
detectors.
detectors too. Can I read this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Because he was talking about metal
Yeah, go
detectors.
for
Whoever
it.
it was, I'm like, yup.
Yep.
So yeah, I remember the metal detectors in the schools in Portland. Also remember having to stay in groups coming home from school because of the gangs. Yeah.
Someone says make a stronger border wall. How about this is finish the border wall? Start with.
Yeah, it's not finished even.
Yeah, and then we can reinforce it after that. Maybe.
Yeah, brother, take it away.
Robots with laser beams. Sharks with freaking laser beams.
Well, you know.
Oh, Austin Powers on there.
Austin.
Also, these harder restrictions on crossing the border helps to save those kids being transported for sex trafficking. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest. That's a crisis that no one talks about here. The border crisis plays into that, but that's something we definitely need to talk about.
You know, campfire discussions.
They talk a lot about that.
Really talk, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's probably going to cover a little bit on that tomorrow too. And
it says these laws protect these children, not harm them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry, but with Biden administration at the wheel, none of that will happen. I'm sure it won't.
Is he actually at the wheel?
Yeah, he at the wheel.
TS needs to be done legally.
TS needs to be done. I'm not sure what TS means.
TS.
So
producer. Translate.
Magic voice from the outer.
It needs to be done.
Oh, it needs. Oh, okay.
Okay, it needs to be.
That makes better sense.
Got you.
Hey, but with all this, someone says here, well, shit. If I'm a refugee and the war is over in Cambodia, I guess they got to head back to Cambodia. Hello. Well, not if you became an American citizen.
Yes.
I'm saying if you came as a refugee and you didn't actually apply for the citizenship, you should probably get that fixed.
Right. Because you're not saying what you're not saying. Is that you.
Yeah. Go ahead. You say it.
You say it. Brother.
Well, yeah. When I'm not saying that you just have to get out. I'm saying get the process done to become a legal citizen, like you should be, like the law tells you to do.
And you know what? I agree with that because you know what? You have buy-in. Now you have skin in the game too.
Yeah, and she said she did it legally, so it's all good.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Good job.
Exactly.
Welcome,
so, hey,
by the way.
Yeah. Hey, yes, welcome to the country. You've probably been here for 20, 30 years.
I know. Welcome. We just welcomed you. You know what? Whoever your name is, you're awesome.
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, seeing all the stuff down there at the border.
Yeah.
God,
does it make you pop?
It really pisses me off.
Oh.
It really pisses me off. And it really puts me... I want to join a squad.
You want
to
just
do something about it.
Does it make you pop?
Yeah, it's called the Pissed Off Patriot Squad. I'm part of the Pop Squad. Oh, pop star. Wow. Anyway,
Wow.
so
Glad you didn't say the other.
I'm glad
P
I'm glad
star. P star. We're not talking about that. That's another show.
I'm glad we're not live or anything where that's never coming down from the internet.
Right. It's always there. It's always there. Don't judge us.
You know, being pissed off, and there's just a lot of ways I really want to be able to share that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I wish they had some good stuff out there that said, "Hey, I'm pissed off," and there are some good things out there, but nothing says more directly about being pissed off than having something that says "pissed off patriot" right on it, right? So, we actually have something like that. It's called the Pissed Off Patriot line. And why don't you take a look at there? We are getting new stuff, by the way. It's right around the corner, so you'll be seeing new things pop up on there really soon. So, but yeah, and take a look. Hey!
Hey, brother.
Yeah.
We talked. Well, this is our show, Bottleneck at the Border. We talked about so far immigration, the immigration crisis at the border, Title 42.
Mhm.
We talked about Title 8. We talked about bringing the border. I can't talk. It's an alliteration. Bringing the border to Biden.
Yep.
And we also talked. We didn't talk about yet.
Well, we tried
Their reaction, the governor's reaction.
Well,
to this
we tried to talk about the Biden's action plan, but there really wasn't a lot to talk about there.
So my brother missed it. So I said, "Hey, we're talking about Biden's action plan." Well, moving on.
There's a big question mark and a blank space that goes there.
You just look in crickets. We don't have an action
But
plan.
this is a moment of silence.
We don't have a plan.
Yeah,
Like-
the look of dread.
Like the Afghanistan.
Well, I mean, when Biden has to have his wife tell him when to clap.
Well, isn't his wife the vice president?
Yes, the vice president.
You should see that meme, guys.
Or
no,
you know,
it wasn't a meme. He actually said it.
yeah, he actually said it.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, he said it more than
That's
once
right.
actually. Or how about when he's shaking hands with the imaginary?
Air.
Yeah.
Shaking hands with air.
Barney.
I can't talk about him like that because I'm blind in one eye. I would have shook hands with air too.
I gotta ask.
I mean, we blind people got to stick together. You know.
Did any of our viewers see?
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Did did any of our viewers see the what happened during the Easter? Oh my gosh! There's a video. We'll try to post it
Moving
here
right
after the show.
along.
There's a video. We'll try to post it after the show.
Okay.
And it's Biden was talking to the crowd and the reporters and things. And for some reason, they had the Easter Bunny was leading him around, telling him where to go, and he was facing this way, and off on the right, this big 12-foot tall-eared bunny steps in front of him. And if you look at a close-up on his face, he had a look of dread and fear, like, oh my God, the Grim Reaper just is here to get me and I'm going home. Because he stepped out of his peripheral vision. That's the first thing he thought of. You see it in his face, his fear. And then it clicked, oh, it's a gigantic bunny.
Is this a video?
Yeah, it's a video.
You've got to show it now. You've got to show. I'm not show it now, but you've got to show it on our Facebook
Ben
page.
Shapiro did a really good showing of that. It was great. It killed me. Oh, I died. The look on his face.
Brothers,
Anyways,
26 governors created border strike force in the absence of federal leadership.
oh yeah, I mean, and definitely, like you said, the Biden's action plan non-existent, and so 26 of these, and by the way, I'd like to point out they're all Republican.
They're all Republican.
Yeah, 26 of these governors said enough is enough. If the federal government is going to step up and take action, we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a link to I'll post later for the ad to this, the new article on this. Yeah. But they're stepping up for a whole variety of things, from smuggling to stopping criminals. They want to deal with. I think there was a little bit of COVID stuff they talked about in there. And what they're going to do is they're going to provide resources and they're going to provide people, Mason National Guard, whatever they might need to, and whatever each of the different states are going to do, they're going to pay for themselves. on there, so they're using their own funding.
They're using their own state funding, aren't they?
Yeah, for each action. But the big thing is to understand is, and what they're following this up on is because they said the border is no longer the border. The border is at your doors.
Yes.
So-
Remember bringing the border to the doors? There's a theme there. The border's at your doors. As a matter of fact, he said, governor said, together, governors will improve public safety. You said protect victims from horrific crimes, reduce the amount of drugs in the community, and alleviate the humanitarian crisis at the southern border.
Exactly. I think there's different parts, and why there's so many governors besides just sending resources. I think they're going to try to push harder on removing illegal immigrants from their own states, ones that they, like you said, they came and they should have gone to court. They'll either expel them or force them into court, and I think they're going to try to follow up and do what they can to alleviate it in their own states, as well as assisting with the actual borders.
My question, as we jump into this a little bit more, is that's kind of a benign, novel idea. In other words, why didn't we think of that before?
I think it just took a little bit of to the point where we had to see the lack of action enough to the point where they probably had to step up and get their people on board. And that's the big thing is Americans are waking up that this utopia they thought they were going to get under Biden, this chunk of people. He's down to 33% approval rating. I'm sure it's fallen even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 33% when you average it all out. It becomes 33%. There's like
you averaged it out.
Yeah,
you dug deep for that one.
No. I mean, no. When they average out, because what they do is they take separate polls for separate ages and stuff. And
because when I saw it was 15%.
Yeah, and like down
Just
to
joking. It was 21.
Well, whatever. I haven't seen A15, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
But the Gen Z. They that's the one that had that like a 50% support rate, 50 or 60%.
Gen Zs, yeah.
They're down to like 25%.
For Gen Zs?
Gen Zs, millennials down in the same area.
Wow.
Here's one that really shocked me, and I can understand. The elderly generation in our country is actually increased by I think 1 or 2% on approval rating for him. I think it's because they feel for him.
Yeah.
Being they can relate to
the
fact that he's being abused.
Actually, I got to tell you, someone mentioned on our Facebook page yesterday about some of the memes that we put on are borderline elder abuse. No.
More on abuse, maybe.
More on abuse, but not elder abuse. That is not what we are about. But when you are the leader of the free world, you're open to being scrutinized.
I think if you put yourself in the public eye, you're open to be scrutinized.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be memes made about me,
Oh, yep. Well, I mean, not just in political government side. I'm talking about with what we're doing here or anyone else. We have been scrutinized, and I'm sure it's going to keep coming. And anyone else out there, as you get bigger and bigger, you get more and more scrutiny coming through. I mean, look what's coming through on oh good golly. Biden Twitter. He's trying to buy Twitter. Good golly, my name.
Elon Musk.
Why can I never remember his name?
Are you going off with Elon Musk?
No, I'm saying he's screwed. He's got a lot of
Didn't Campfire Discussions talk about him last week?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there. So you should roll back and watch it. It was actually
roll it back.
Episode.
It says the governors will coordinate to share intelligence, disrupt smuggling, also assist border patrol, and they will plan to focus on efforts that are targeting cartel, finances, and border-related crime. The Biden strike force. Oh, I'm sorry, the Biden.
Wow,
he
does not have a strike force. Man, they're going to slap you down for that one.
The other B, the border strike force was announced days after Customs and Border Protection released its March statistics. Listen to this, which show that the highest number of Border Patrol apprehensions are, and read that number because it is way too big. I don't want to read it right now.
209,906 along the southern border since early 2000.
Yep.
If you want to pop those stats back up, you can see what we're talking about. Yep. Those numbers we're talking about are right there, kind of partway down through the screen, just under it says all the months. And you can also just look at the pretty blue numbers and things.
Right. When speaking of Twitter, brother, Mississippi Governor Tate wrote on Twitter that we're all border states, and you said this just now.
Yep.
Now we are going to protect ourselves.
That's the reason why the Constitution was set the way it was, to give states the power. states separate powers. It's the United States of America. And so what that means is that the states have united, but they also have the ability to protect themselves and form their own allegiances to protect themselves as need be. And if they ever wanted to, they could technically break off from the Union. I doubt they will, but if they ever chose to, they could break off from the Union and, technically become their own separate entity. And so, yeah, it's actually in the Constitution. They could do that by the vote of the people of the state and so on. And I think every state constitution has their own things written in there. It's called succeeding from the Union. Anyway, so the whole point is, if the federal government's failing to do the job, the central government, then the individual governments are going to form. And in some ways, if you look at it by them doing that, they've kind of formed, in some ways, their own, I don't say their own federal government, but their own central government in relation to protecting the borders. So.
Yes. You know what, brother? Every time I hear you on this show, you get smarter and smarter. Am I rubbing off on you?
Yes.
No, actually, I was just going to say very good points.
I actually grew an extra IQ cell.
Oh, I grew an...
Now I'm up to 2.
Take off the Q. Hopefully, by hanging out with you, I grow an extra I. By the way, there's some audience comments, for you to read. No, that was... Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Put a laugh right in there.
It's a slap in the face of every legal migrant that moved to this country the right way. Yes, it is.
Go ahead. Read the next one.
You gave it to me because you saw the thing I did. Has the
sounds like medication.
What the?
Sounds like medication.
What is this word?
Throw a word against the wall.
Been
mobilized effectively yet? It's a Biden quote. What?
It's a Biden
I get
it. He said that I'll lead that.
Wow.
I was like, it sounds like a medication. Like somebody...
or someone needs to be on medication.
Elder abuse is Obama and a Democrat party's putting him out there as in his condition.
Oh yeah, definitely. How is it elder abuse? Someone is triggered by memes. Wow, whoever it is so petty. Even some of the elderly find it funny.
I love that. I love that comment.
Can the elderly abuse themselves? I guess they can.
Well, I don't know, but desperate, what the Biden administration would have you believe criminals, drugs, and human trafficking don't just stay on the border. They make their way to every state, is a quote from another governor.
Oh, yeah, they do. And that's the thing is, I mean, I bet you if you look at the states and the stats in every state, you'd probably see an increase in all sorts of crimes. I mean, heck, we've even seen an increase in crime in the last 6 months here in Estacada.
Can I read that again? I think I mispronounced the word. Despite what the Biden administration would have you believe, criminals, drugs, and human trafficking don't just stay on the border. They make their way into the country. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And it's they make their way all the way in. The thing is right now, the way that the border is acting, we don't really have a border.
Yeah.
They're trying, the crazy left that thinks in open borders, they're starting to see what that actually means now.
Yes.
In reality, and it's the thing is they're not going to try to. They're not. I don't know if they have the synapses in the brain to connect. The fact is that open borders is a part of that plays a role in what they're having trouble of $5 gallon gas and not being able to find bread on the shelf sometimes.
I get it, but I also get Democrats too. They're led by feelings. So you look at any help social services thing that they've started, like welfare.
Yeah.
Well, when you just give the surplus away and you don't ask people to remain accountable, then you get people who take advantage of the system.
Well, I've always learned that feelings come from two places.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your heart, and the other part's your ass. And so Democrats tend to think with the other part, not the heart. But the thing is, if you notice, that misses something in logic. Well, logic comes from here.
Yes.
Logic comes from the heart. Logic comes from the head.
Yeah.
So, and people need to think a little more logically, and then think with the right part of the feelings part.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Logically, not from your ass.
Yes,
Still
exactly.
trying to figure it out that way.
The head's coming out the wrong
I don't
side.
think I want to figure out that one. That stinks. That's bad.
Yes, it'd be a
but
shitty.
no.
It'd be a shitty situation.
That will be a shitty situation. Yes. Yeah. So this is that strike force, and I don't. One of the questions I have, Joel, is when? Do you know? They just say when is this supposed to be implemented?
They're already
You gave me that
engaged.
article, and I was like,
Yeah, they're
Interesting.
already actually engaged in it. I mean, it's already moving forward. They've already made the agreements, and so
we can find that information.
Yeah,
online.
exactly. And there's probably be a lot more coming out about it because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people whining about it. But you see that the main media isn't talking about it,
No.
and I'm having issues with this.
Well, it would be considered somewhat considered insubordination, but not really.
Not really. No, the states
Not
have
really.
every right to interact. The states can, if they chose to, they can technically cut out
Yep.
the entire federal government, and there's nothing wrong with that. They have the ability to operate on their own regards.
Absolutely.
But I mean, if they cut out the entire federal government, they have to cut out of the union if they succeed from the union.
Yes.
Because in order to be part of the union, you have to submit to a limited oversight from the federal government, such as the federal constitution and such as some federal laws and things like that. So.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. That's where we're
Exactly. And I was just double checking the article quick to make sure I didn't see this was says here actually 26 U.S. governors, all Republicans, announced the creation of a border strike force to disrupt and dismantle transnational criminal organizations on April 19th. So it was
19th.
formed
So it
on
already-
April 19th.
So it was
Yesterday.
yesterday.
Yep, yesterday. So it was formed, and so technically, like I said, it's already enacted, but it's only been 24 hours.
Yeah. Have you guys heard anything about this?
Yeah,
I'm curious.
It's on Epoch Times where this talks about it.
Epoch.
Yeah, Epoch Times.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll post the article here after the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So hey guys, we really appreciate you sticking with us through this.
Yeah. While we're looking a little bit more, don't forget about our BS projects. Don't forget about that. Don't forget that we do breaking news with Joel and The Ridiculous with moi. And don't forget campfire discussions with Brandy. Don't forget Patreon like we talked about. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. As well as Spotify. We're on there. Don't forget our Patreon as well.
Yeah, Patreon. So, I'll admit we have not put things on there yet, but I think we're supposed to be meeting here pretty soon. We have a whole bunch of content to dump on there. We just want to make sure people are gonna get on it because we'll put it on there whether you get on there or not. But you know what? It also gives you a chance to have some inside conversation with us too.
Absolutely. And don't forget, sometimes we go on Facebook Live and we do our lives, the Happy Easter one, and you guys viewed that, and so it was good, and so we're always in your face.
Yep, we're always out there, something to look at and see. We're on 5 days a week now.
5 days a week.
Yeah, we have The Ridiculous on Mondays.
Yep.
We have, every other Tuesday we have the BS Project being released, which we have one coming up.
I'm trying to convince Backwoods, Campfire Brandy to do something on the every other Tuesday.
She might. We'll figure it
A
out.
thought from Brandy.
Deep
thoughts from
Brandy's thoughts.
Brandy's thoughts.
Inner thoughts. That would be kind of scary, though.
Brandy's inner thoughts. Well, you could say that. I don't.
Wednesdays, obviously, we're here every Wednesday.
Yes.
Every Thursday, we have lovely Brandy with campfire discussion. I said every Monday was ridiculous.
You already did Friday?
Yeah, but Monday's actually the breaking news.
Yes.
Friday's ridiculous.
Not breaking when. Breaking news.
Yes, breaking one. But occasionally breaking wind on there. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I got to, mix it up.
Yep, but we're always looking for suggestions. Breaking news.
There it is. Yep.
Oh, yes.
Breaking news. Biden's still an idiot.
By the way, that was his last one. Check that out. Biden's still an idiot. That's what we want. And then I talked a little bit on mine on BLM. And they're into buying mansions now. So BLM is now no longer Black Lives Matter. It's now buy luxurious mansions. Okay? So we've now changed that. And yeah. So you too get a mansion, and you too get a mansion, but they only give them to black people, y'all. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry. They don't give them to black people. They only give them to the BLM leadership,
Leadership, yes.
who's actually leader. So yeah.
Well, they're supposed to be able to house. Hey, you guys, they're all supposed to be there for the safety of black people. So
It's like a
I think-
sanctuary house.
I think all you black people that feel unsafe should rush to those houses
Uh-huh.
and go and get on in there because that's what they're there for, right?
Yep, feel safe. You can feel safe in those. You know, can I just say a little bit? My next and you can tell yours, but my next ridiculous is talking about black people who are scared of the American flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, black people who are scared of the American flag. Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep hitting this thing in front of me.
Okay.
I gotta keep used to this thing.
Yeah. So that was my ridiculous. You'll see it. You'll see it.
Yeah.
This
And I'm
Friday.
gonna hold the breaking news because it's supposed to be breaking news, so it'll be special.
Oh yes, that's right. His has to break.
Yes.
Okay.
Breaking wind.
So today was bottleneck at the border.
Bottleneck at the border, and we kind of ran through everything.
Yeah.
One last run through what we went through over today, and it was Title 42.
Yep.
Title 8.
Yep.
Bringing the border to Biden.
Yes.
Biden's action plan.
Yep.
And 26 governors create an actual solution.
Okay, and remember, before we leave, what was Biden's action plan?
That about sums it up.
There you go. There you go, folks.
Hey guys, we will see you next week at 7 p.m. and Brandy will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. right here. And have a good week.
Yes.